This is the 2025 Lexus GX550 Overtrail, and it's the off-road focused variant in the all-new GX lineup. It's a luxury four-wheel drive wagon with a V6 engine. It's based on the Toyota LandCruiser 300 series platform, and more importantly, it's going to give us some important insight into the all-new 250 series, or as we know it, the Prado. But is this actually any good off-road? Well, that's what we're here to find out, so stick around. The GX550 Overtrail is a 5-seat four-wheel drive wagon, and it has a price tag of just over $122,000, but that's excluding on-road costs. It's the mid-spec in a 3-vehicle range. It sits above the luxury, and that goes for about $116,000 excluding on-road costs, and it sits just below the sports luxury, which has a price tag of about $128,000. Standard features on board the Overtrail include this 14-inch multimedia touchscreen system, and that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and both of those functions are wireless. There's also a wireless charger here, and there's a refrigerated cooler box. There's 3-zone climate control, and both front seats are heated and ventilated and power adjustable, and the driver's seat has memory. Exterior paint choices include sonic quartz or graphite black, but you can also opt for a two-tone colour like the one that's on our test vehicle. But any of those choices will set you back $4,200, and those prices are correct at time of filming. But remember, for even more details, make sure you read my full written review at carsguide.com.au. Having me talk about design or appearance is like asking me to talk about my feelings. It just doesn't work, but I'm going to give it a nudge anyway. Kudos to Lexus for not going the full mouthy grin on the grille. They've gone for a more understated look, and that works in this package really well. This is a big, blocky, chunky vehicle, and it looks really good. It's kind of a retro style, and it kind of all fits. Big chunky tyres, big side steps, even big wing mirrors. It's got a blocky, chunky, straight up and down kind of retro look, and it all works really well. In terms of practicality, there's plenty to like about the functionality of this cabin. Everything is easy to use, locate and operate. Having said that, I have had some issues operating the touchscreen. It seems like I have to take a few stabs at it with my finger before I actually get to where I want to go or to operate the function that I want to operate. But beyond that, everything is a-okay. And in terms of build quality and fit and finish in this cabin, well, there's nothing really I can find fault with. Everything is solid, everything looks and feels nice. Even the durable plastic surfaces fit in with everything else. The seats are really comfortable and they look nice, and that goes for the front and back. Chances are, if you're looking for a large SUV, you go away on weekend trips and you want a rear cargo area that's going to fit all of your stuff. Well, the good news here is that there's just over 1,000 litres of space, and that's plenty enough to squeeze all your gear in. You also get tie-down points. You've got a 220-volt power socket here, and the remnants of the 7-seater platform. You've got cup holders in the back, but you also get a couple of USB-C charge points on either side. So all in all, it's a pretty functional space. And a handy additional feature on this vehicle, especially if you're thinking of using it as a touring vehicle, is you can access the load without opening up the whole back door. You can open up this glass here, you can get in, you can rummage around, find what you want, get it out, or put stuff in without the need to open up that big door and perhaps upsetting your entire load, stuff falling out, all that sort of thing. Not good. This way, no muss, no fuss. You can get in quickly, get out quickly, close it up and off you go. The Overtrail is a 3.4 litre twin-turbo V6 petrol engine, and that produces 260 kilowatts and 650 newton metres, and it's matched to a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is an impressive and smooth combination. There's a little bit of busyness in that transmission on-road and off-road, only here and there though. It's certainly not diabolical, but overall, this setup, plenty of torque, plenty of grunt, plenty of low-down torque that you really need when four-wheel driving, and it is impressive. The Overtrail has full-time four-wheel drive adaptive variable suspension, selectable driving modes, and an electronic rear diff lock. On road and on fast dirt tracks, the Overtrail sits nicely. It's got that wide wheel track and that lengthy wheelbase. It sits controlled and composed, and the ride quality is very impressive. It does skip and jump over some minor irregularities, but that can sort of be ironed out with tyre pressures, or that adaptive variable suspension tends to mostly soak it all up. But there's plenty of acceleration, plenty of power, plenty of torque in this vehicle, and as a sealed surface driver and as a vehicle used on rough roads, backcountry roads, dirt tracks, it really makes a lot of sense. As expected, the Overtrail is impressive on road. There's plenty of punch through this V6 engine, and it works nicely with the transmission. It's refined, it's smooth, it's nice and quiet in the cabin. There's some wind noise from these massive wing mirrors, but that's not a huge deal when the overall vehicle itself as a driving experience on road is pretty damn impressive. And off-road, there's a lot of good news about this four-wheel drive wagon. It shares the same platform as the Toyota LandCruiser 300 series and the Prado, which I'll be driving soon, so keep an eye out for my video on that. This Overtrail has so much mechanical goodness about it and so much driver assist tech that I haven't even needed to engage the rear diff lock, because through these driving modes, sand, mud, rock, snow, it just delivers the right amount of throttle response, the right amount of traction. And with the electronic kinetic dynamic suspension system, that means it acts as almost like a sway bar disconnect. So on road it tightens and off road it loosens, just to give you that little bit of extra wheel travel that you need. Get those tyres to the dirt and keep optimum traction going, keep forward momentum going. And that's what it does. And it does it with little to no stress whatsoever. It's not even working hard. It sits nicely on the track at speed, fast gravel, dirt roads, those sorts of things. But on these Toyo open country all-terrain tyres, it also sits with plenty of grip. And that's across a variety of off-road situations, a variety of surfaces, sand, loose gravel, shale, even rain-soaked mud, which can be very slippery and can fill up your tyre tread really quite quickly. These tyres are a real handy addition to this package. They are the passenger car versions of all-terrains. They aren't light truck construction, so they'd be even better. But as a standard vehicle straight out of the showroom, those tyres are fine. There's plenty of power from the V6, plenty of torque, and it's delivered in an even-handed way. It doesn't just throw it all out there and you've got to do your best. There's a real composure about it all, and that's also the same thing could be said about the mechanicals and the driver assist tech. It's all very seamless and it all works really well. Steering is well weighted and precise, and there's plenty of feedback for the driver from the dirt to the steering wheel, so you know exactly what's going on. And further to that, you've got a 360-degree camera system, so you can be very precise about wheel placement. You can make sure that you're sticking to the right line on any challenging terrain, and that maximizes your chances of being safe, of the vehicle being in control, minimizing the chance or the risk of any damage, and just making the whole driving experience a nice one. But the news is not all good. The ground clearance on the Overtrail, while it's sort of industry standard for a large or an upper large SUV, isn't the greatest for a vehicle that's marketed as an off-road beast. And the off-road angles, approach, departure and ramp over aren't fantastic. Again, they are industry standard for a larger and upper large SUV, but for a vehicle that is supposedly an adventure machine, they could be a whole lot better. Having said that though, the underbody is protected by some substantial bash plating coverage. The big side steps do stick out, and if you don't drive with real consideration, then they'll probably cop a scrape here and there and maybe even a bit of a dent. But those factors aren't deal breakers for the Overtrail because, as I mentioned, with these mechanicals on board and these driver tech features, the Overtrail as a straight out of the showroom four-wheel drive wagon does really well. One of the quirks about modern day large luxury four-wheel drive wagons is the fact that they are so good at what they do, and the driver assist tech on board is so laser precise that it almost removes the driver from the equation. It can sometimes feel like a very clinical exercise, like you're almost a spectator. You're almost watching the vehicle do its thing. They are that good. But one of the good things about this, the Overtrail, is the fact that the driver, you do still feel dialed in. You do still feel a major part of the process. You are still involved at all times. It doesn't have that clinical feel about it that something like the Land Rover Defender does, or even the Toyota LandCruiser 300 series. In this, you still feel part of the action. Towing capacities are 750 kilograms unbraked and 3,500 kilograms braked. Payload is listed as 595 kilograms, which is not a lot once you throw in a whole bunch of camping equipment, your kids, your dogs, and that sort of stuff. But it's about standard for this part of the four-wheel drive wagon market. Fuel consumption is listed as 12.3 litres per 100 kilometres, and that's on a combined cycle. On this test, I recorded 13.9 litres per 100 kilometres, but I have been doing a lot of low and high range four-wheel driving, so I think that figure is pretty decent for a 2.5 tonne vehicle, a V6 petrol. That's okay, but I can see those figures climbing quite considerably once you load this vehicle up or you tow something with it, a boat, a camper trailer, a caravan. But going by that on-test fuel figure, the Overtrail has an 80 litre fuel tank, so if you have a full tank, I'd reasonably expect a driving range out of that tank of about probably 575 kilometres. The Lexus GX550 Overtrail does not have an ANCAP safety rating because at the time we filmed this, it had not been tested. It has 9 airbags and driver assist tech includes adaptive cruise control, AEB, tyre pressure monitoring, a 360-degree camera, and a whole bunch more. But as always, for even more details, make sure you read my full written review at carsguide.com.au. The Lexus GX range is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. Servicing is scheduled for every 6 months or 10,000 kilometres, whichever occurs soonest. And according to the cap price servicing plan, you can expect to pay $595 per service. But make sure you have a chat with your local dealership for up-to-date servicing costs. The Lexus GX550 Overtrail is suitably refined, luxurious, and it is a comfortable off-roader. It's a solid mix of on-road performance and four-wheel drive capability. And if you are cross-shopping it against the likes of Land Rover Discovery or Defender or the Nissan Patrol or even the Toyota LandCruiser 300 series, it does compare favourably. But it's not all good news. The Overtrail's fuel consumption has the potential to climb really high, especially if you are towing or loading it up with camping equipment. It lacks people carrying flexibility because it doesn't have a third row of seats, and the fact that there is no diesel variant is a real letdown. But what do you reckon? Have your say in the comments section below.